John Amos explained in a prior interview how his life was almost cut short when he was bidding for the role of Kunta Kinte in the miniseries Roots. Let's just say some folks took his preparation for the role very seriously, a tad too seriously, as a matter of fact. While competing for the role of Kunta Kinte, John wanted to make sure he nailed it with the appropriate African accent, even though the casting directors presumably doubted he could pull it off at the time. To be sure he had it down, Amos went to Liberia and only spoke in the African accent he'd planned on using for the role if he were to get the part. And that's where the situation got a tad testy for him. I knew I had the handle on it, the African accent, not because of ego, but one time when I was living in Liberia, revealed Amos, I was out drinking with some friends of mine, local guys, and we went to one of the local shebeens, which is just a bar in somebody's house where they make homemade brew or whatever. And my friend, Charles Mitchell, an indigenous Liberian, said to me, "John." I said, "What, Charles?" I had my back to the crowd. Charles is facing me and I see a look of alarm on his face. I said, "Charles, what's wrong?" He said, "Oh, John, one bad guy with a machete coming for us." I said, "What?" I turn around and there's a guy. He gets up from the table and sure enough, he's got his machete out and he's with 2 or 3 of his friends and they've got their machetes or clubs. The guy looked at me and said, "I know you. I told you when you were in Bowman Hill Diamond Mine that I coming for you one day and now the day." Amos explained that his potential attacker had mistaken him for a former security guard who'd mistreated him back in the day when he was an imprisoned worker at a diamond mine in the area. So John Amos had to think quick on his feet in order to save his life. This guy, the security guard, had mistreated him so bad that he'd vowed he was going to cut his head off, Amos explained. He said, "Now I'm coming for your head." I said, "Whoa, wait 1 minute, buddy." I dropped the accent, pulled out my wallet, pulled out my California license, Amos said, gesturing to himself. "This is me. I'm just a player." Afterwards, the potential attacker was so shocked that John Amos wasn't who he thought he was that he treated him and his friend to a lot of beer, and the rest is history. John continued. "So the question of whether or not I had the right accent wasn't up for discussion. It almost got me killed," he joked. That story John Amos told is something to laugh at now, but I'm sure there was no chuckling going on back then.